Hello and welcome to another Moosehead Minutes video. For those of you new to the channel, we cover in depth my local CHL team, the Halifax Mooseheads, who have just had their second best season of all time and are now on to the second round of the QMJHL playoffs. As always with these videos, but especially tonight's, I've included timestamps. This one will be vlog heavy, so if you just want to skip right to the game recap, you can do so. If you want to skip to the hit, which the video is titled around, you can do so as well. But let's get started. So I'm going to open this video up with the vlog portion because you guys always seem to really enjoy all of the experience that goes into going to the game. And this time Brandon, who runs the channel alongside me, also brought his camera, so I thought it'd be fun to document the night. Again, skip ahead if you're just interested in the game or the hit. We started off in Dartmouth, which is basically a part of Halifax but across the harbor, at about 5:15 at a nice little place called Side Hustle Snack Bar where we got food and drinks. Absolutely gorgeous night, so we took the ferry across to Halifax. That's about a 12-minute journey. I think it's about $2 per rider. Then walked up the hill to what was formerly the Metro Center, now the Scotiabank Center. Usually I park on the Halifax side, but because I figured we may be enjoying some libations, the car stayed at home. There are lots of great places to pregame for the Mooseheads. The Midtown is a super popular one, but there are hundreds of restaurants and bars in Halifax, like way too many almost, and a ton in Dartmouth as well. So it really depends on how much you either want to avoid the crowds or get involved with the pregame atmosphere. Anyway, because we did have that press pass, we were able to go through the security door, which gave us a really cool opportunity to watch the players do their pregame and go out onto the ice. Throughout the entire night, we tried to capture footage from different places. We got this really cool shot of the bench, for example. This is what the players see. They walk down a little tunnel from their dressing room to get here. I thought it was a really cool perspective. It was another sellout crowd, which I think comes in at about 8,500 people. The Mooseheads, again, they've been having a stellar year. Their regular season record was 50 wins, 11 losses, and 7 overtime/shootout losses. They swept round 1 of the playoff series, but still surprisingly, despite outshooting their opponent for the second round, the Moncton Wildcats, in game 1, they lost 4-1. Still, the crowd was super into it, which was great, and game 3 starts on Wednesday, so there's a bit of a break until the next action. Obviously, in the Scotiabank Center, there's some decent food options, lots of beer, not crazy expensive like you might expect at an NHL rink, but obviously not as cheap as some minor hockey or other major junior hockey rinks. For a beer, I think you can expect to spend about $10, maybe a little bit less. Anyway, as the game progressed, we tried to get down during intermissions. We caught a cool scene at the end of the game. The Mooseheads did win, spoiler alert for the breakdown that's coming in a minute, but afterwards we decided to stay on the Halifax side for a while. We went to one of my favorite bars, the Loose Cannon. That's just down Argyle, but I mean, if you don't like that one, there are so many others to go to. Halifax has 2 harbor bridges, and the main one leading to downtown was actually closed for construction that night, so we decided to head back across the harbor pretty early before the ferry closed so we wouldn't be hit with a massive Uber, then finish the night off at kind of a dive bar over in Dartmouth. All in all, just an absolutely great night. A bit hard on the wallet, I will say, but you can certainly do it for much cheaper. But Brandon was in town, we decided to have fun, and I certainly don't regret it. But let's talk about what you guys are probably here for, the actual game itself, including the hit mentioned in the title. So, the Mooseheads did lose last game, but pretty much everyone I talked to going into the rink said they'll be awake tonight, because the Mooseheads have been just dominant all year. They had like 10 games off after sweeping the first series. Moncton went to game 7, and as expected, the Mooseheads did bring it tonight. They were absolutely buzzing early. At one point in the first, shots were 10-1. Halfway through the second, they were still 19-7, and the Moose opened the scoring pretty early. 8 minutes into the first, Zach LaRue, whose name you probably recognize if you've watched many of these videos, redirected a point shot to make it 1-0. Really, the only good chance of the first 25 minutes was a breakaway by Moncton that Rousseau handled beautifully. He had a great game. Josh Lawrence, the second leading scorer on the team throughout the regular season, would then make it 2-0 with a nice wraparound, and the crowd went pretty pretty wild for this one. And like, this is what the Mooseheads really need to be unstoppable. They're big scorers, Josh Lawrence, Alexandre Doucet, Jordan Dumais, and Zach Leroux, to really start putting it in. That 1-0 goal was actually Zach Leroux's first of the playoffs. So yeah, if they can get those guys going, they'll be unstoppable. Moncton would actually get one back midway through the second, but at this point, I wasn't concerned at all. The play was just tilted so far in favor of the Mooseheads, and they'd restore the lead on the power play with a funny bounce just a couple of minutes later. Moncton would then get a double minor called against them. The Mooseheads would score on the first penalty to make it 4-1 on a nice shot by Schultz. Next up, a beautiful passing play would leave Biasca pretty much wide open in front of the net, and Moncton's goaltender would get it at first, but it would bounce in. Bad luck on that one. The goal of the game that got me excited, even though you're not supposed to in the press box, came late in the second. Josh Lawrence made a really nice defensive play on the power play. Vidicek got the puck, absolutely undressed the goaltender, and made it 6-1. The Mooseheads would score one more in the third. It would be called back, but they'd get a final goal to make the score sheet say 7-1 at the end of the third. An absolute whooping. Anyway, the controversial moment mentioned at the very beginning came when Zach Leroux received a game misconduct for a charge. This one was really weird. It was an open ice hit, and in my opinion, pretty much the perfect hockey hit. I mean, I guess if you look at what happened in full speed to the other player, it looks a bit bad, but Leroux should not have been kicked out for this. The other player had his head up, he was crossing the middle of the ice, he should have expected contact. Leroux hits him pretty much squarely in the shoulder, and he doesn't aggressively target or skate at the player like you would expect in the case of a charging call. I don't know, just a nonsense call. Now, the argument is, hey, this was a game management thing. There were 5 minutes left. The game actually was getting very chippy, and I get it, but on the other hand, Zach Leroux is a player who has been suspended a ton. I actually covered a situation he was involved in earlier this season, and most of the suspensions were earned. So to get a misconduct on a clean hit, like, it gets added to his record, I would be surprised if there was any post-game disciplinary action. I would also be very disappointed, but I guess we'll see. I will say, how is the Q not retired number 66? Mario Lemieux had 562 points in 200 games. In 1983 to 84 with Laval, he had 282 points in 70 games. But I don't know, that's an aside, and that's the end of today's video. Is there one section you liked more than others? Do you like me to just focus on the game instead of going into the outside the arena stuff? Are you a local business that would like to see your product or your business featured? Shoot me a link. My email is down in the description. Until next time, be safe, have a good one, and I'll talk to you soon.